And for those of you who are saying that this is bad, minors are not being legally represented, you're picking up legal citizens, which, by the way, this whole narrative that somehow, as we are rounding up those who are not supposed to be here, we're going to accidentally grab people who are supposed to be here, is one of the most extremely racist comments and perspectives I've seen come from the Democrat Party in a while. Now, ultimately, I believe majority of America wants to get back to normalcy, not perfection, because we have a lot of stuff that we can address, a lot of areas that we can fix and we can really grow in. But we have to have a baseline, a starting point, somewhere where we all can stand and agree that this is what America stands for. This is who we are. This is where we are. And unfortunately, you can't do that when you're telling people that there are 56 genders. Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion.
Well, Emily, we've heard officials here in Boston and in Massachusetts say repeatedly they are not going to cooperate with ICE or mass deportation efforts by the Trump administration. And ICE says, well, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to cooperate with us. We're still going to go into your city and we're going to do the job. And we were with ICE Boston yesterday for about 10 hours as we got to watch them firsthand carry out immigration enforcement. Take a look.
Good morning, everyone.
It's a frigid 5 degrees in the pre-dawn hours just outside of Boston, where this team of elite ICE officers is briefing on their targets for the day.
We're going to be targeting some extremely violent offenders today.
Within moments, the officers are on the move, with eyes on their first target.
Looks like we got movement, target vehicle coming out.
They quickly take him into custody. He's an MS-13 gang member wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder. And he has an Interpol red notice out for his arrest.
We are targeting very violent threats to our community.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Señor, ¿cómo se llama?
And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by a sanctuary jurisdiction, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back into the community, and when we went to go find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
And that is exactly what Border Czar Tom Homan has warned would happen.
When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that are in the United States illegally. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
ICE Boston says they will continue to go into sanctuary jurisdictions and do their job.
Okay, let's move on to the orders that will affect your pocketbooks. So President Trump announced the creation of an External Revenue Service, an agency designed to collect tariffs or taxes, basically, from international taxes. So if you would think about tariffs, just think about paying taxes, but international taxes, duties, and other revenues from foreign trade. Trump emphasized that this initiative is aimed at ensuring that foreign entities profiting from trade will finally pay their fair share, while the Dems are advocating for raising taxes on the wealthy. They're giving tax breaks to foreign countries. It was as if they had something on him. Who are we talking about? President Biden. That's the only reason why I would think that he would be giving tax breaks to other countries and then fussing at us, saying that we don't deserve them. Americans, you made too much money here in America. You made too much money for America, and we are not going to reward you. You don't deserve a tax break. You know who does? China does. This guy is insane. I'm so glad that they are gone. Anyway, this announcement aligns with his campaign promise, President Trump's campaign promise, of an American first trade policy, which includes imposing tariffs on imports to protect domestic industries. Now, the big question that I'm hearing surrounding this new agency is whether or not it will replace the IRS. I certainly hope that it will. And I do see where the capability is there for it to replace the IRS. And, just imagine living in a world where foreign countries are taxed to make money off of us rather than we being taxed for making money off of them. So in other words, if I purchase something or if I start a small business and I get products from overseas and then I sell it here in America, it's like the small business was getting hit heavier than the foreign country. So, and the business is what's keeping our economy moving. So we kind of had that backwards. So I'm glad this is happening. So hopefully this will lead to some additional tax cuts on us, because the revenue from the ERS, I'm hoping, will cover some of our government costs. And that way it will reduce them being so in our business when it comes to the IRS. In addition to this new revenue initiative, Trump signed an executive order to pause the implementation of the U.S. ban on TikTok for 75 days. This move prevents the Attorney General from enforcing a law passed by Congress in 2024 during the Biden administration, which required TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, to sell the platform due to national security concerns. Trump suggested that the United States negotiate a deal allowing us to own half of TikTok, which is estimating, let me tell you how much this platform is estimated value is at. Right around $1 trillion. Now we're in debt by like 31 trillion or something crazy. However, 1 trillion, we can use it, or at least some of that. Particularly if you're making that money off of us and giving us nothing for it. And you're collecting all the data on all of our U.S. citizens. There's your national security concern. Okay? So, yeah, we need a cut. Yep, run us our money. This is another example of a foreign company, I believe, that's just making money off of us and taking advantage of us. And we had weak leadership that didn't have the... Since we're on the radio and it's not the evening yet, because at 5 o'clock I'll be able to say it. But since they don't have the courage, we're going to just say the courage to stand up to these other countries and say, no, you don't get to just take money from us. But anyway, thank God we now have a president who does have a backbone and has the courage. The decision to delay the TikTok ban followed a temporary shutdown of the app, which impacted approximately 170 million American users. 170 million. Okay, that's how many Americans this China and ByteDance has been able to obtain information on. Okay, now mind you, I've never had a TikTok account. Maybe I'll get one once we now own 50%, but I just haven't had one. So, we'll see. These actions will be felt immediately and reflect on a sort of a dual approach, I believe, to an economic policy, with the focus of generating revenue from international trade while also trying to navigate some of these complexities of the technology world and the national security concerns. But I totally believe that Trump is up for it. More great executive orders. I suggest that during these 75 days, when TikTok and CapCut are platforms that, if there are platforms that you are using, I suggest during these 75 days, start downloading your data, start transferring to another platform if possible, just for now, because after the 75 days, there could be a legal battle that, who knows, could last for a very long time. And that doesn't mean that Trump's going to extend the ban. It could mean that it will shut down until they figure this out. And then there'll be issues. Or it can just be a quick, overturn. I just suggest having a plan B, because you just never know. But, I do believe that Trump is going to try his best to get, it all done within the 75 days. Moving on to energy. Trump signed an executive order requiring all federal agencies to submit their plans to the White House Office of Management and Budget, which the OMB plays a very critical role in overseeing our federal budget and shaping like the financial framework of the government programs. So they're pretty much all government program stuff. Well, Trump asked all federal agencies to report to OMB within 30 days with a plan to eliminate regulations and rules that are deemed burdensome to domestic energy production and consumption. This directive highlights areas of particular interest, including oil, natural gas, coal, hydropower, biofuels, critical minerals, and nuclear energy. The lead of OMB, the Office of, what do they call this again? The Office of Management and Budget, Trump has nominated Russell Vought, who was the more person who previously held this position during his first presidency. So Vought did a good job. He didn't get fired and he got brought back. Good job, Vought. But he has a track record of proposing significant spending reductions, and he has a very ambitious plan that he's outlined that leads to $11.3 trillion in cuts alongside $2 trillion in tax reductions aimed at achieving a budget surplus by 2032. So he has a very robust plan, and I love that they're already starting to talk about it. But this executive order, to me, signals a strong push towards deregulation and revitalizing the domestic energy sector. During the Gilded Age, right? So during the time period where the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, the Ford, like everyone was just popping. I mean, they were all, their businesses was amazing, okay? During that era, the reason why they were able to make so much money and they were able to become so successful and push the industrial age so fast is because they weren't regulated to death. And so, you know, I'm not saying we should do away with all regulation, because, you know, there were some other issues that occurred during that time. A lot of issues, matter of fact, as they were trying to figure all this out. But I do think that we need to look at how much are we regulating people, while we're also talking about revitalizing the domestic energy sector. But anyway, this move leads to new jobs, I believe. I also think that it's going to be getting those industry workers back to work, the many people who were shut down when we stopped drilling here in America. And I think we should see some gas prices come down. And because it's the market that's doing all of this and changing things and not the government manipulating it, I do hope that we see some price changes come down, or as far as gas, I'm hoping we see a major turn with that. And this turn was here to stay, right? Because the government's not manipulating our gas prices, which typically is like a temporary relief and then it's followed by this financial setback. You're not going to see that. Like, this should be an upward trajectory. So gas prices should either keep getting lower or stabilize if he's doing the right things. And I'm interested to see the results of this action. And I'm wondering if we'll start seeing something by the end of fall, kind of going into the holidays this year. Now, let's move on to social issues, starting with healthcare. So one of President Trump's executive orders takes significant steps towards repealing key Biden directives aimed at making it easier for Americans to enroll in Medicaid services and secure insurance coverage under the Affordable Care Act, ACA, which was an absolute disaster. And now, it's important to keep in mind that the lowering of prescription drug costs, this action does not repeal the Biden-era policies such as the $35 monthly cap on insulin or Medicare's $2,000 annual out-of-pocket cap on prescription drugs. Those provisions remain in effect due to the federal statutes that was passed by Congress. Recent statistics indicated that there's nearly around 24 million Americans enrolled in the Affordable Care Act, which is Obamacare, during the last enrollment period of the Biden administration, which marks a 9% increase from the previous year. And this hike includes 3.2 million new customers, according to the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Considering the fact that Medicaid numbers jumped drastically in 2020 due to COVID layoffs, where we are now at a staggering 60 million consumers of Medicaid with around 1.1 million physicians to handle this caseload, that's about 10 minutes or less that they get to spend with their patients. How can you say that that's quality care? It's not. And the only way to fix it is that you have to plug the hole and replace it with policy. And that would then release the free market onto the healthcare system, which we have been waiting for and we need for a very long time, and will break up insurance monopolies. And this would then be that first step that is necessary to helping to bring down some of this cost that's associated with healthcare. And I suspect that there's going to be some insurance companies that are going to start moving in the right direction, sensing the writing on the wall from President Trump. And I believe that many of you may begin to see the effects of that pretty soon. After the break, I'm going to finish up talking about healthcare, and then I may introduce some of the DEI stuff, or I may just save that for next week. Until then, you're listening to The Janelle King Show. I'm Janelle King. This is Extra 106.3. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion. This is the Janelle King Show right here on Extra 106.3, where we discuss kitchen table topics that are typically banned from family gatherings, but are absolutely necessary in order to have a strong republic. And if you're joining us for the first time, don't worry. You can catch an encore episode tomorrow at 9 a.m. right here on Extra 106.3. And remember, our podcast drops every Tuesday wherever you get your podcast. And if you're feeling eager, you can watch the video podcast right now on YouTube. Just remember to subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, and your likes, comments, and shares are always welcomed. Now grab a seat and let's get back to the table. Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion. Ultimately, I believe majority of America wants to get back to normalcy, not perfection, because we have a lot of stuff that we can address, a lot of areas that we can fix and we can really grow in. But we have to have a baseline, a starting point somewhere where we all can stand and agree that this is what America stands for. This is who we are. This is where we are. And unfortunately, you can't do that when you're telling people that there are 56 genders. Because if we're sitting here debating about how many genders exist, so much so that the president has to sign an executive order declaring that there are only 2 genders that will be recognized by our government, meaning that private businesses will continue to force this narrative, in some cases, not all, but to force this narrative that there is somehow more than 2 genders. If we can't agree on something as obvious and something as easy to prove as whether or not we have 1 gender or 2 genders, how in the world are we supposed to address bigger issues? That is why the role of the government is to be the standard bearer. President Trump has breathed new life into the White House. Journalists are now saying that they forgot how hard they used to work when they had an administration that actually worked because the Biden administration was asleep. So the golden age is upon us, and it's up to us to hold President Trump accountable, to keep him in line when it comes to all of these executive orders, making sure that this administration fulfills their promise. And without the help of all of us, no more of these. We got to get rid of the litmus test, but without the help of all of us, this is not going to happen. All right, part two, I'm going to break down more executive orders. I'm going to finish what I didn't get to finish this week. And so next week, we're going to be discussing crime. We're going to finish up talking about some DEI stuff, and then Trump's executive orders for 20 and how it affects, his executive orders that affect the 2020 election. We're going to talk about some of that stuff and more. So don't forget, we're starting next week, airing in a new time, 5 p.m. every single Saturday and 9 a.m. every single Sunday. Until next time, stay unafraid, stay unapologetic, and never stop seeking the truth.